Oh, there I am. Yes, there we are. Oh, look at all that hair. It's like foofy, and today, is it foofy? It's very foofy. I kind of like it. I like it foofy. And I have a bonnet anyway, so, you know. Woo! Bonnet. Yeah! Hi! Hello. Yes, it's me again. I'm in the living room with my bonnets and my books. And, what do I have today? I have, purple. I like purple. And, let me make myself at home. Oh, yes, there I am. Hi. So, it's Alison Arngrim in the living room again. Goldfish. Now, although Tuesday, is it Tuesday already? Is it Tuesday already? Does it feel like Friday? Hey, British Columbia. Yeah, my mother's from Vancouver. June 16th. It is June 16th already. And it is National Fudge Day. And here I am with no fudge. Is it Fudge Day? Is it anything else? No, that's it. That is it. I love it how tomorrow is Eat Your Vegetables Day. I guess that's to make up for today being Fudge Day. But it is Fudge Day, and I don't have any fudge. I got like goldfish and ginger ale. So that's fun. So indeed, we are reading Little Town on the Prairie still. Now, in some of Laura's books, she does like the super short chapters. Like she's doing that a lot in Shores of Silver Lake. She did that in where you would just have like really short chapters. You have to read like 3, and then like the next thing would be 2. And we're mostly reading 2 chapters a day because that seemed about, that was like a reasonable number of pages. And then suddenly we had these insanely short chapters where it was like, well, I guess I'm doing 3 because they were like this long. And then Little Town on the Prairie. I think a lot of people say Rose Weatherford had a lot of influence because they were, yeah, she didn't know like that Little House in the Big Woods was going to become the mega monster hit that it was, and that there was going to wind up being 80 million sequels here. So Rose was involved. There was a lot of controversy. Did Rose write the books? No, Laura wrote the books, but Rose absolutely was involved and was editing and had a lot of input and would like say, I think we need to do this. And Little Town on the Prairie has a lot of that. And also Little Town on the Prairie, like I said, this historical fiction problem where things go, timelines are like, how old are we? What year is this? Things get a little fuzzy. Nellie Oleson comes back, which is like awesome, except that didn't happen at all. No. Nellie Oleson is based on 3 people. Nellie Oleson is based on Nellie Owens of Walnut Grove, the Owens family who had a store, and they were, but they weren't Nels and Harriet. They were William and Margaret Owens, and they lived in Walnut Grove, and they had a store, and they had 2 awful children named Nellie and Willie, and it was great, but and she was very annoying. But then everybody moved, and the Owens actually wound up in Oregon. They're buried in Forest Grove, Oregon. But Laura goes off, and they're in South Dakota, and she goes, "Oh, look, here comes Nellie." We just didn't live in South Dakota. The Owens didn't move to South Dakota. That didn't happen. So what happened? Well, the other 2 people, so the other 2 is Genevieve Masters and Stella Gilbert. And I think someone probably knows exactly this. Is it Genevieve Masters, who was actually in South Dakota, that she met in high school, that caused all this trouble? Because I'm thinking. But yeah, it was one of them. It was Genevieve or Stella who comes along and is awful as a teenager. So why? Because by the time this book came out, Laura was already going, I'm getting letters, I'm getting cards and letters, and the people were saying, where's Nellie? Yes, my character was already causing fans to go mad. People were demanding that Nellie. And by golly, she's like, more Nellie. So we talk about how the TV show Nellie went, character just like, it became, I Fonzied that thing. But no, even before that, because Nellie should have just been this brief thing in Walnut Grove, and she wasn't. There was already demand. We want more Nellie. We need more Nellie. And Laura caved and gave them more Nellie. And so, hence, by the time of the TV show, it was like, more Nellie, more Nellie. So, I'm obviously all for it. I got no complaints. But, yeah, so it gets very strange. And suddenly the chapters aren't really, really long. Like, way longer than the chapters in, like, the last 4 books. And things also get weird. Like, we just had this guy doing a little soapbox, a little stump speech on the 4th of July, and it went off on this really weird tangent about foreigners and European despots and savages, and it was like, pardon? I did this, sir, this is an Arby's. What? And it got, like, racist and scary and crazy. And Rose, I'm warning you, in a couple chapters, there's a party, and things just get... Yeah, there's a sequence where they have a party, and things go really sideways and racist cuckoo. And if you were writing about that now, you would either not have that chapter, or you would have that chapter and say, wow, this really weird thing happened at this party. I can't believe it. But in it, they're like, yeah, and then this happened. So, yeah, there's, like, Rose is, I think, getting, gotta watch out. Gotta watch out. There's weird things going on in this book. But this chapter is really interesting because it looks like Mary, they're heading towards, she's going to go. She's going to go to that blind school. And so things are getting exciting. So let's hope nothing scary or terrifying or racist or mean happens in this chapter. God, that Rose Wilder. She's a pestle. Got to watch her. This one is about the Blackbirds. Blackbirds? Yes, in August, the days were so hot that Laura and Mary took their walks in the early mornings before the sun had risen far. The air still had some freshness then and was not too hot to be pleasant. Well, that's like Los Angeles. August, you want to go outside, maybe you want to go out at like 7 because it's hot. But every walk seemed like a little bit of the last walk they would have together, for soon Mary was going away. She was really going to college that fall. Yay! Mary got into college. They raised the money. Yay, I'm very happy. They had looked forward so long to her going. Now, when she really was going, it did not seem possible. It was hard to imagine, too, because none of them knew what college would be like. They had never seen one. Papa had earned nearly $100 that spring. The garden and the oats and the corn were growing marvelously, and Mary really could go to college. Yay! They're finally not broke! They finally made enough money to send Mary to college. It's a miracle, yay. Coming back from their walk one morning, Laura noticed several grasses sticking to Mary's skirt. She tried to pull them off, but they would not come loose. Ma, she called, come look at this funny grass. Ma had never seen a grass like it. The grass heads were like barley beards, except they were twisted, and they ended in a seed pod an inch long, with a point as fine and hard as a needle, and a shaft covered with stiff hairs pointing backward. Like real needles, the points had sewed themselves into Mary's dress. The stiff hair followed the needle point easily, but kept it from being pulled back, and the 4-inch long screw-like beard followed, twisting and pushing the needle point farther in. Like some kind of really like mega monster foxtails on steroids or something. Ouch! Something bit me, Mary exclaimed. Just above her shoe strap, one of the strange grasses had pierced her stocking and was screwing itself into her flesh. Okay, yikes. This is like some science fiction monster killer plant. I'm frightened already. Just saying, these goldfish, they're baked, not fried. They're technically almost good for you. Little salty, delicious, but if you are on a low salt regimen, I would say probably not. Like maybe eat one. But other than the salty factor, they're quite tasty. The Ingalls would love them. Salt! So she's being attacked now by plants. Ow. I declare this beats all, said Ma. What next will we encounter on this homestead? When Pa came in at noon, they showed him the strange grass. He said it was Spanish needle grass. When it got into the mouths of horses or cattle, it must be cut out of their lips and tongues. Ah! Ah! I'm scared. Okay, that's horrifying. It worked through the sheep's wool and into the sheep's bodies, often killing them. Killer grass! Run! Run for your life. Oh my God, there's killer grass. I'm scared. Where did you girls find it, he asked. And he was glad that Laura could not tell him. Well, if you didn't notice it, there can't be much of it. I think it'd be the other way around. You'd really want to know where the thing was. It grows in patches and it spreads. Exactly where did you go walking? Laura could tell him that. He said he would attend to that grass. Some say it can be killed by burning it over green. He told them, I'll burn it now to kill as many seeds as I can, and next spring I'll be on the lookout and burn it green. There were little new potatoes for dinner, creamed with green peas. And there were string beans and green onions. And by every plate there was a saucer full of sliced ripe tomatoes to be eaten with sugar and cream. Wait, what? You guys eat tomatoes with sugar and cream? Is that a thing? I don't... I mean, sliced tomatoes, yes, at dinner. Yes, in a sandwich, on the side of your plate, in a salad, a little salt, salad dressing, vinegar, sugar, and cream. Like it's fruit. Well, tomatoes fruit, but really, that's very strange. Okay. Well, we've got good things to eat and plenty of them, said Pa, taking a second helping of potatoes and peas. Yes, Ma said happily. Nowadays, we can all eat enough to make up for what we couldn't have last winter. Nutritionally, it doesn't really work that way. You're still all horribly malnourished and your bones are going to shatter. But she was proud of the garden. It was growing so well. I shall begin salting down cucumbers tomorrow. Little ones are thick all under those vines. And the potato tops are thriving so I can hardly find the hills underneath them to scrabble. If nothing happens to them, we'll have plenty of potatoes this winter, Pa rejoiced. We'll have roasting ears soon, too, Ma announced. I noticed this morning some of the corn silks are beginning to darken. I never saw a better corn crop, said Pa. We've got that to depend on. You know, they're being ominous. I really hope nothing happens to the crops again, because it's always with these people. And the oats, said Ma. Then she asked, what's wrong with the oats, Charles? Well, blackbirds are getting most of them, Pa told her. I no sooner set up a shock than it's covered thick with the pests. They're eating all the grain they can get at and not leaving much but the straw. Ma's cheerful face dimmed. But Pa went on, never mind, there's a good crop of straw, and as soon as I get the oats cut and shocked, I'll clear out those blackbirds with a shotgun. That afternoon, looking up from her sewing to thread her needle, Laura saw a wisp of smoke wavering in the heat waves in the prairie. Pa had taken time from his work in the oat field to cut a swath around the patch of Spanish needles and set fire to those vicious grasses. The prairie looks as beautiful, so beautiful and gentle, she said, but I wonder what it'll do next. Seems like we have to fight it all the time. Yes, they do. This earthly life is a battle, said Ma. If it isn't one thing to contend with, it's another. It always has been so, and always will be. The sooner you make up your mind to that, the better off you are, and the more thankful for your pleasures. That's more of that Rose stuff. Rose is like kind of depressing when she gets going. Now, Mary, I'm ready to fit the bodice. They were making Mary's best winter dress for college. Yeah, she's going to college. She's going to college in the city. She's not going to be out on the farm with these hicks. She's not going to be in some dirty little muddy town like DeSmet with little sidewalks with the boards. In a real city, she has to dress nice. I'm just saying. So she got a gorgeous dress in the hot room with the sun blazing on the thin board walls and roof. The lapfuls of wool cashmere almost smothered them. Ma was nervous about this best dress. She had made the summer dresses first for practice with the patterns. Winter dress. Going to go to more formal occasions, much thicker material that you got to work with making it. More difficult. She had cut the patterns from newspaper using her dressmaker's chart of thin cardboard as a guide. Lines and figures for all different sizes were printed on it. The trouble was that nobody was exactly any of the sizes on the chart. Oh, so that's not new then. That then is a thing that was happening in the 1800s, where they give you the charts and the sizes, and you're like, yeah, no, that's not actually that size. We have all had that, have we not? After Ma measured Mary and figured and marked the size of every sleeve and skirt and bodice piece on the chart and cut the patterns and cut and basted the dress lining, then, when she tried the lining on Mary, she had to make changes all along the seams. Laura had never known before that Ma hated sewing. Oh! She's like the queen of sewing. Here she hates sewing. She never knew that she hated sewing. I'm shocked, too. Her gentle face did not show it now, and her voice was never exasperated. Hang on, my cat is doing something. Yes? Yes? What? The cat has decided to make an appearance. Yes? Yes? What seems to be the trouble? I don't know. Invisible mice? We don't have mice. I don't know what's going on. But the cat just, like, did tricks in the hallway. It's very exciting. So, no, I didn't know Ma hated sewing either. Her gentle face did not show it now, and her voice was never exasperated, but her patience was so tight around her mouth that Laura knew she hated sewing as much as Laura did. Yes? What is it? What is it? Do you want a goldfish? 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 No? No? They were worried, too, because while they were buying the dress goods, Mrs. White had told them that she had heard from her sister in Iowa that hoop skirts were coming back to New York. Oh! Fashion. Hoop skirts, which was like Civil War, and then they were, remember, in like big woods, the aunties and stuff were still wearing the hoop skirts, and then, no hoop. What, they might be back? They might be back. Revival of the hoop skirts. I don't know. Yes, Kitty, yes. What? Hoop skirts? I don't know. Here. Goldfish? Okay. There were no hoops yet to be bought in town, but Mr. Clancy was thinking of ordering some. Wow, he's even going to order some. Hoop skirts could be back. Now, on the show, we were kind of around this time period. We were doing stuff from her life around this time, and believe me, no hoop skirts. So, not sure if they actually came back in then. I declare, I don't know, Ma said, worrying about hoop skirts. Mrs. Boast had a goodies ladies book last year. If she had one now, it would decide the question. But Pa must cut the oats and hay. They were all too tired on Sundays to make the long, hot trip to the Boast claim. When at last Pa saw Mr. Boast in town on Saturday, he said that Mrs. Boast did not have a new goodies ladies book. Goodies ladies book is really old. I mean, really, it was old then. And it was the Vogue, the Elle, the Ladies' Home Journal, everything rolled into one, and it would fashion. And boy, oh boy, if they had changed the hems of the skirts, or it was hoop skirts versus not hoop skirts, or bustles were back, Goodies Lady Book would tell you. So it was very important to get the latest Goodies Lady Book, even if you were out on the prairie, so you would be dressed properly. We'll just make the skirts wide enough so if hoops do come back, Mary can buy some in Iowa and wear them, Ma decided. Meanwhile, her petticoats can hold the skirts out full. Very smart. Smart about these things. They had made 4 new petticoats for Mary, 2 of unbleached muslin, 1 of bleached muslin, and 1 of fine white cambric. Very fancy. Around the bottom of the fine cambric one, Laura had sewed with careful tiny stitches the 6 yards of knitted lace that she had given Mary for Christmas. They had made for her 2 gray flannel petticoats and 3 red flannel union suits. Okay, this is a lot of clothes. Are you getting that this is a lot of clothes? I'm like shocked here. So they're talking about she made a couple summer dresses, and now she's making a winter dress, and 4 petticoats. And so that's 2 of one of bleach and 1 of cambric, plus 2 gray flannel petticoats and 3 red flannel union suits. That's 7 things. It's just the underwear. Now, on the show, because the Ingalls stayed poor pretty much for most of the run, Mary didn't have all these dresses. She didn't have multiple dresses and worry about hoop skirts. And she didn't have how many unions? How many underwear? She didn't have 3 red flannel union suits and 2 gray flannel petticoats and 4 in different kinds of muslin. Can you imagine Laura and Mary on the show having 4 different petticoats and 6 dresses and 2 sets of... What? They had like what? They had what, 4 dresses? 4? 2 for the first like whole season. They had like 2 dresses the first year. school dress and the Sunday dress. And then I think they worked their way up to like 4 dresses. I had 4 dresses day one. Those poor girls had 2 dresses. And that was it. And they didn't have all these petticoats. They didn't have none of this stuff. I had petticoats. They didn't even have. They had like 1 layer, like a little slip petticoat. And that was the thing, is the Ingalls are not poor. He has a store in town and a farm that is doing well. So the Ingalls are not poor, and they're saving up money, and Mary's going to college and has like 8 gazillion different pieces of clothing. But on the show, they had like a dress and a pinafore and like 2 pairs of underwear and some socks. So this is very strange for everyone, where like the show, they were like dead broke for 7 years, you know. Now all of a sudden the Ingalls got more, they got clothes like Nellie Oleson here. This is craziness. Well, that's a lot of clothes. Around the top of the petticoat's hems, Laura made a row of catch stitching in bright red yarn. It was pretty on the gray flannel. She backstitched all the seams of the petticoats and the long red flannel union suits, and around the necks and the wrists of the long red sleeves, she catch-stitched a trimming of blue yarn. Who is going to see Mary's underwear? She's doing an awful lot of stuff on the underwear petticoats that I would presume Mary is not showing to people. Also, most of the people at the college will be blind. But the blind girl and her blind friends, well, I mean, she could feel this. She's doing a lot of color work here for a girl who cannot see, is going to a college full of people who cannot see, and even the people who can see. It's your underwear. Who is that? This was a thing. This was a thing in the 1800s that, by golly, you are going to have perfect underwear. You're going to have beautiful, gorgeous underwear with different color stitching, even if no one ever saw it. Because you would know. You would know. And God would know. God would know, and Laura Ingalls would know. So she is going to have perfect underwear. That is that. Heavens. She was using all the pretty yarns that had come in last winter's Christmas barrel, but she was glad to do it. Not one of the girls in college would have prettier underwear than Mary's. And they won't know. They will never know, but she will know. When Ma had backstitched the seams of Mary's dresses and carefully ironed them flat, Laura sewed the whalebone stays onto the underarm seams and dart seams of the basques. She took great pains to sew them evenly on both edges without making the tiniest wrinkle in the seams, so that the basque would fit trimly and smoothly on the outside. This was such anxious work that it made the back of her neck ache. She's got whalebone stays. This is the Ingalls. The 17 sets of fancy underwear and whalebone stays, for heaven's sakes. I didn't even have whalebone stays. Now the basque of Mary's best dress was ready to try on for the last time. Sort of a coursing thing. It was brown cashmere, lined with brown cambric. Small brown buttons buttoned it down the front, and on either side of the buttons and around the bottom, Ma had trimmed it with a narrow shirred strip of brown and blue plaid, with red threads and golden threads running through it. It was really fancy. A high collar of the plaid was sewed on, and Ma held in her hand a gathered length of white machine-made lace. The lace was to be fitted inside the collar so that it would fall a little over the top. Okay, this is like a Mrs. Oleson gown. Do you remember Laura and Mary as teenagers on the show? No, this is like, yeah, Mary's, oh, she has the prettiest underwear. This is like Mrs. Oleson stuff with machine-made lace. And this is the Ingalls. Yeah, so all that stuff on the show, them being poor for like the whole show. Nah. Unbelievable. So it'd fall a little over the top. That's a lot of lace. Oh, Mary, it's beautiful. Yes. The back fits without a wrinkle, and so do the shoulders, Laura told her. And the sleeves look absolutely skin tight to the elbows. They are, Mary said. I don't know if I can button. Laura went around in front. Hold your breath, Mary. Breathe out and hold it, she advised anxiously. It's too tight, Ma said in despair. Some of the buttons strained in the buttonholes. Some could not be buttoned at all. Don't breathe, Mary. Don't breathe, Laura said frantically, and quickly she unbuttoned the straining buttons. Now you can, Mary breathed, outbursting from the open bodice. Oh, however did I make such a mistake, Ma said. That bodice fitted well enough last week. Laura had a sudden thought. It's Mary's corsets. It must be. The corset strings must have stretched. They got Mary in fancy corsets. Corsets! I'm dropping my goldfish. I'm so shocked. The Ingalls are wearing corsets and lace and fanciness. It's shocking. Shocking, shocking. Corset strings. Is that a thing that corset strings can stretch? I guess. It was so when Mary held her breath again and Laura pulled tight on the corset strings. The bodice buttoned and it fitted beautifully. Yeah, and then Mary passed out because, like, how do you breathe? Oh, good Lord. I'm glad I don't have to wear corsets yet, said Carrie. Be glad while you can be, said Laura. You'll have to wear them pretty soon. Okay, she just told baby Carrie that she's going to wear corsets soon. Did the Ingalls ever wear corsets on the show? I could just say, I never wore a corset on the show. I had, towards the end, there were some bodices of the dress that were, like, super tight and fancy. I had corsets. I had a little, like, camisole then. No. Yes, they did put Catherine McGregor, Mrs. Olsen, in a corset. She was a big girl and an older lady. So, you know, they did that sort of thing. But I didn't have corsets. I don't know. Melissa Gilbert. Corsets were not a big thing on the show. They were not. Nope. And here, they're just... Laura is corseted and telling baby Carrie, yeah, you're going to get ready to wear your corset, girl. It was hard enough living on the prairie, and then you got to wear a corset? You people crazy? You'll have to wear them pretty soon. Her corsets were a sad affliction to her. Laura is 14. They've already said she's not 15 years old yet. She's 14, and she's wearing a corset. They were an affliction to her from the time she put them on in the morning until she took them off at night. But when girls pinned up their hair and wore skirts down to their shoe tops, they must wear corsets. You should wear them all night, Ma said. Mary did, but Laura could not bear at night the torment of the steels that would not let her draw a deep breath. Always, before she could get to sleep, she had to take off her corsets. What your figure will be, goodness knows, Ma warned her. When I was married, your pa could span my waist with his 2 hands. I have no internal organs. What? And then she apparently had internal organs. She had children. That's awful to me. That sounds painful. I mean, now some people like the corseting thing, make you pretty and all. It's kind of fun. But wow, that would hurt. And to sleep in them. Now that's a thing. Do you sleep in your bra? I know people who sleep in their brassiere that even nowadays will say, well, I have the bra, and oh, yes, you should sleep in your bra. It is good for the figure. It's not. I wear a bra. I do that. My mother did not like brassieres. My mother hardly ever wore a bra. Oh, it's true. I know. And she was of the era. She was like, nope, girdles, nope. She was very forward for her time. But bras, actually, I wear them for certain outfits and everything. I like them, but I wouldn't dream of sleeping in a bra. And I know women absolutely insist that they sleep in their bra, that it's supposed to keep them in that, good condition and shape, like sleeping in a corset. Nah. Not sleeping in corsets and bras. Not me. No. But she's worried. She's like, she's talking about not wearing a corset, like while you're wearing the corset, oh, you look really skinny and your dress looks cool. Ma's talking about wearing the corset all the time and tightening it up. She's doing body modification. She's talking about permanently changing the shape of her whole ribcage waistline with that corset. Ma, savage, man. She's doing body modification. I'm scared. Okay. Yikes. Span my waist with 2 hands. Ow. He can't now, Laura answered a little saucily, and he seems to like you. I don't believe she just said that. You must not be saucy, Laura, Ma reproved her, but Ma's cheeks flushed pink, and she could not help smiling. Yes, because although she is older and birthed many, many children, Pa still likes her. So there you go. She's admitting that, yes, corset or no corset, Pa loves her. So I don't know what she was doing with all that itty-bitty waist stuff, because Pa don't care. There you go. See, that's why we love Charles Ingalls. He's like, corset, waistline, whatever. Yep, can't span your waist 2 ends. Now he still likes you. Now she fitted the white lace into Mary's collar and pinned it so that it fell gracefully over the collar's edge and made a full cascade between the collar's ends in front. Wow! They all stood back to admire. The gorgeous skirt of brown cashmere was smooth and rather tight in front, but gathered full around the sides and back so that it would be ample for hoops. In front, it touched the floor evenly. In back, it swept into a graceful short train that swished when Mary turned. All around the bottom was a pleated flounce. I always like things that go flounce. I flounce. The overskirt, because wait, there's more. The overskirt was of the brown and blue plaid. It was shirred in front and it was draped up the sides to show more of the skirt beneath, and at the back it fell into rich, full puffs caught up above the flounced train. Above all this, Mary's waist rose slim in the tight, smooth bodice. The neat little buttons ran up the soft white lace, cascading under Mary's chin. If you know more about sewing and about ladies' dresses, this will all make more sense. Because I know a lot of people going, you got a flounce, you got a puff, you got shirring, you got draping. I don't know what any of that means. So it's very complicated. It's definitely all of them. The brown cashmere was smooth as paint over her sloping shoulders and down to her elbows. Then the sleeves widened. A shirring of the plaid curved around them, and the wide wrist fell open, showing a lining of white lace ruffles that set off Mary's slender hands. That's a heck of a dress. Are there pictures? Yes, thank heavens, because it described a very complicated process of dresses, and if you don't know about ladies' fashions and dresses, that was all like speaking another language. Luckily, we have the... There you go. See, there's the second part, the second skirt over the first skirt. Look, flounce, train, puffs. Oh, there you go. It opens up there. It's smooth, corseting, tiny waist. There you go. Shirring, etc. Ta-da. Yikes. So now we know. That's a heck of a dress. That is one heck of a dress. Okay. Mary was beautiful in that dress. Oh, yes. Her hair was silkier and more golden than the golden silk threads in the plaid. Her blind eyes were bluer than the blue in it. Her cheeks were pink, and her figure was so stylish. Mary was gorgeous, I'm telling you. Oh, Mary, Laura said, you look exactly as if you'd stepped out of a fashion plate. There just can't be one single girl in college who can hold a candle to you. Do I really look so well, Ma? Mary asked timidly, and she flushed pinker. For once, Ma did not guard against vanity. Yes, Mary, you do, she said. You are not only as stylish as can be, you are beautiful. No matter where you go, you will be a pleasure to every eye that sees you. And I am thankful to say, you may be sure your clothes are equal to any occasion. That is a big deal. Because, you know, as you said, Ma guarding against vanity. Ma was always guarding against vanity. Here, Ma would say, well, yes, that dress will serve. You will be able to cook and clean and pick crops well in that gown. It is a fine Christian woman gown and covers you properly. It should be more like that. No, she just comes right out and says, yep, you're beautiful. The dress is fantastic. It is the height of fashion. You will be the most gorgeous woman in the entire school. Boom. That's vanity. But here you go. They're sending her off to college. They've never been. They got a little insecurity going. They're worried. They're like, well, are they going to look down on her as the poor blind girl from the farm? If she shows up in her just regular raggedy, dismet clothes, they're going to give her a hard time. So they're loaded for bear. They're going to send her out in the best dress they can make. And so, yeah, so she's going to make an impression. They are going to definitely notice her. Wow. You may be sure your clothes are equal to any occasion. They could not look at her longer. She was almost fainting from the heat in the woolen dress. She was fainting from the corset, but hi. Fainting away in the heat in that woolen dress. They laid it carefully away, done at last, and a great success. There were only a few more things to be done now. Ma must make Mary a winter hat of velvet and knit some stockings for her, and Laura was knitting her a pair of mitts of brown silk thread. Yeah, and Mary can't eat anything between now and the time she goes to college. Mary, don't eat anything. Do not breathe or eat anything for like several months. Okay. You won't fit in that dress. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. I can finish them in my spare time, Laura said. Oh, we're through with the sewing. In time for me to help Pa make hay. She liked working with Pa, and she liked working outdoors in the sun and the wind. Besides, secretly, she was hoping to leave off her corsets while she worked in the hay. I suppose you may help to load the hay, Ma agreed reluctantly, but it will be stacked in town. Oh, Ma, no. Do we have to move to town again? Laura cried. Modulate your voice, Laura, Ma said gently. Remember, her voice was ever gentle, low, and soft, an excellent thing in woman. Well, excuse me. Ma and her rules. Now, it's interesting because now that we've just had this, like, massive several pages about Mary and her corset and her gown and her perfection, this then lets you know why Ma flipped out when Laura said, I'm going to go now with no stockings, no shoes, no corset, throw a dress on and go out and stack hay and work the farm. It was so obvious. She was hoping they would all be dressed like Mary and wear corsets and sleep in corsets. And here's Laura who wants to go be a farmhand. So that's why Mom got so upset about that. Her voice, ever gentle, low and soft, an excellent thing in woman. Okay, I flunked that. I definitely flunked that one. Do we have to go to town? Laura murmured. Your Pa and I think best not to risk a winter in this house till he can make it more weatherproof, said Ma. You know, we could not have lived through last winter here. Good call, Ma. Yeah, because you almost froze to death even in town. Maybe this winter won't be so bad, Laura pleaded. We must not tempt Providence, Ma said firmly. Laura knew it was decided. They had to live in town again next winter, and she must make the best of it. But they're right, because they almost froze to death in town. And yes, they can't live there in the winter. That evening, when a flock of happy blackbirds was swirling at play in the sunset air above the outfield, Pa took out his shotgun and shot them. I love that. The happy blackbirds swirling at play in the sunset air above the outfield. Pa took out a shotgun and shot them. Bam! So mean. He did not like to do it, and in the house no one liked to hear the shots. But they knew it must be done. Pa must protect the crops. The horses and Ellen and their calves would live on hay that winter, but the oats and the corn were cash crops. They would sell for money to pay taxes and buy coal. As soon as the dew was off the grass next morning, Pa went out to cut it with the mowing machine. In the house, Ma began to make Mary's velvet hat, and Laura busily knitted a brown silk mitt. At 11 o'clock, Ma said, Mercy, it's time to start dinner already. Run out, Laura, and see if you can find a mess of roasting ears to boil. The corn was taller than Laura now, a lavish sight to see, with its long leaves rustling thickly and its nodding tassel tops. As Laura went in between the rows, a great black swirl of birds rose up and whirled above her. The noise of their wings was louder than the rustling of all the long leaves. The birds were so many that they made a shadow like a cloud. It passed swiftly over the corn tops, and the crowd of birds settled again. The ears of corn were plentiful. Nearly every stalk had 2 ears on it. Some had 3. The tassels were dry, only little pollen was still flying, and the corn silks hung like thick green hair from the tips of the green corn husks. Here and there, a tuft of corn silk was turning brown, and the ear felt full in the husk when Laura gently pinched it. To make sure, before she tore it from the stalk, she parted the husk to see the rolls of milky kernels. Blackbirds kept flying up around her. Suddenly she stood stock still. The blackbirds were eating the corn. Here and there she saw bare tips of ears. The husks were stripped back, and kernels were gone from the cobs. While she stood there, blackbirds settled around her. Their claws clung to the ears. Their sharp beaks ripped away the husks, and quickly pecking, they swallowed the kernels. Ugh! Silently, desperately, Laura ran at them. She felt as if she was screaming. She beat at the birds with her sunbonnet. Can you do that? Yeah, it's pretty sturdy. I guess you could whack them with the bottom. Yikes, hit them with their bonnet. They rose up swirling on noisy wings and settled again to the corn before her, behind her, all around her. They swung, clinging to the ears, ripping away the husk, swallowing the corn crop. She could do nothing against so many. She took a few ears in her apron and went to the house. Her heart was beating fast and her wrists and knees trembled. When Ma asked her what was the matter, she did not like to answer. "The blackbirds are in the corn," she said. "Oughtn't I to tell Pa?" "Blackbirds always eat a little corn. I wouldn't worry about it," said Ma. "You might take him a cold drink." In the hayfield, Pa was not much troubled about the blackbirds. He said he'd about cleaned them out of the oats. He had shot 100 or more. "Likely they'll do some harm to the corn, but that can't be helped," he said. "There are so many of them," Laura said. "Pa, if you don't get a corn crop, can Mary go to college?" Pa looked bleak. You think it's as bad as that?" "There's so many of them," said Laura. And Pa's going, la, 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 la. He just said he had to shoot 100. "Yes, the blackbird's going to eat your corn. Hello, figure it out." "There's so many of them," said Laura. Pa glanced at the sun. "Well, another hour can't make much difference. I'll see about it when I come to dinner." "Nah, I would be out there." Okay, why do these people... Scarecrows. I'm supposed to have a scarecrow? Right? Stuff a corset with hay, yes. I'm concerned. That's like horrible. Oh my God. So he's like dum-de-dum-de-dum dinner. At noon, he took his shotgun to the cornfield. Hours later, he walked between the corn rows and shot into the cloud of blackbirds as it rose. Every shot brought down a hail of dead birds, but the black cloud settled under the corn again. When he'd shot away all his cartridges, the swirl of wings seemed no thinner. Laura told him. There was not a blackbird in the oat field. They had left it, but they'd eaten every kernel of oats that could be dug out of the shocks. Only straw was left. Ma thought she and the girls could keep them away from the corn. They tried to do it. Even Grace ran up and down the row, screeching and waving her little sunbonnet. The blackbirds only swirled around them and settled again to the ears of corn, tearing the husks and pecking away the kernels. I guess a scarecrow wouldn't have worked on these. "You'll wear yourselves out for nothing, Caroline," said Pa. "I'll go to town and buy more cartridges." When he'd gone, Ma said, "Let's see if we can't keep them off till he gets back." They ran up and down in the sun and heat, stumbling over the rough sod, screeching and shouting and waving their arms. Well, I guess a lady modulating her voice thing just went out the window. Sweat ran down their faces and their backs, and the sharp corn leaves cut their hands and cheeks. Their throats ached from yelling. And always the swirling wings rose and settled again. Always scores of blackbirds were clinging to the ears, and sharp beaks were tearing and pecking. At last Ma stopped. "It's no use, girls," she said. Pa came back with more cartridges. All that afternoon he shot blackbirds. They were so thick that every pellet of shot brought down a bird. It seemed that the more he shot, the more there were. It seemed that all the blackbirds in the territory were hurrying to feast that corn. At first, there were only common blackbirds. Then came larger, yellow-headed blackbirds, and blackbirds with red heads and a spot of red on each wing. Hundreds of them came. Oh my God, they're getting different species of blackbirds attacking their crops. What is going on? Here's it. It's Alfred Hitchcock. Tippy! Where's Tippy Hedren? I'm telling you, it's scary. That's crazy. In the morning, hundreds of them, dark spray of blackbirds rose and fell above the cornfield. After breakfast, Pa came to the house bringing both handsful of birds he had shot. "I never heard of anyone's eating blackbirds," he said, "but there must be good meat, and they're as fat as butter." "Dress them, Laura, and we'll have them fried for dinner," said Ma. There's no great loss without some small gain. Eat them blackbirds. Laura dressed the birds, and at noon Ma heated the frying pan and laid them in it. They fried in their own fat, and at dinner everyone agreed they were the tenderest, most delicious meat that had ever been on the table. Blackbirds are apparently good eating. Yum. After dinner, Pa brought another armful of blackbirds and an armful of corn. "We might as well figure the crop's gone. This corn's a little too green, but we'd better eat what we can of it before the blackbirds get it all. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, Ma exclaimed. Laura, Carrie, hurry and pick every ear that's possibly old enough to make dried corn. Surely we can save a little to eat next winter. Laura knew why Ma had not thought of it sooner. She was too distracted. The corn crop was gone. Pa would have to take from his savings to pay taxes and buy coal. Then how could they manage to send Mary to college this fall? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, also blackbirds attacking people in corn. It is. It's Tippi Hedren and the birds. Yikes. I know her, she's lovely. And she has a sculpture in her garden. It's got birds. She got the play set with the birds on it for the movie, the jungle gym thing. She's got it. She has, Tippi Hedren, has a thing called Shambhala. It's all cats, big like lions, like cats. Tippi Hedren lives not far from here, up over the mountain there in Acton, and she has a big ranch. It's called Shambhala, and it is a refuge for abused tigers and lions, and mountain lions and pumas and cougars and leopards and panthers. But she's got a bunch of lions and tigers, and she lives on the property among the lions and tigers. It's like, what? And they're not tame. Nope. You don't want to go pet them, but she takes very good care of them. They're often lions and tigers who've had terrible, terrible lives in captivity, and she rescues them. But Tippi Hedren, yes, of Alfred Hitchcock the Birds, is off on a ranch full of lions and tigers, as I sit here. Yes, that's actually a thing. Go figure. The blackbirds were so thick now that between the corn rows their wings beat rough against Laura's arms and battered her sunbonnet. She felt sharp little blows on her head, and Carrie cried out, the birds were pecking her. Yep, see, Tippi Hedren, the birds, they're attacking. They seemed to feel that the corn was theirs, and they were fighting for it. They rose up harsh at Laura's face and Carrie's and flew scolding and pecking at their sunbonnets. Another good reason to buy these bonnets, they will protect you against bird attacks. If you are attacked by a flock of crows, you can spare your eyes and face with one of these marvelous bonnets. Terrible. Not much corn was left. Even the youngest ears, on which the kernels were hardly more than blisters, had been stripped and pecked at. But Laura and Carrie several times filled their aprons with ears only partly eaten. When Laura looked for the blackbirds to dress them for dinner, she could not find them, and Ma would not say where they were. Wait and see, Ma answered mysteriously. Meantime, we'll boil this corn and cut it off the cobs to dry. There was a knack to cutting corn from a cob. This is true. The knife must slice evenly the whole length of the rows, cutting deep enough to get across the whole kernel, but not so deep as to cut even an edge from the sharp pocket in which each kernel grows. The kernels fall away in milky slabs, moist and sticky. Ma spread these on a clean old tablecloth laid outdoors in the sunshine, and she covered them with another cloth to keep away the blackbirds and the chickens and the flies. The hot sun would dry the corn, and next winter, soaked and boiled, it would be good eating. That's an Indian idea, Pa remarked when he came to dinner. You'll admit yet, Caroline, there's something to be said for the Indians. If there is, Ma replied, you've already said it. Many's the time, so I needn't. Oh, Ma and Pa are fighting over Indians. See, again, Pa's bringing up Ma, picking on the... But you're drying corn. You're drying corn. The Indians taught you this. You are totally drying corn like the Indians. She's like, yeah, you've already said it many's the time, so I needn't. Ma hated Indians, but now she was brimming with some secret. Laura guessed that it must be the missing blackbirds. Comb your hair and sit up to the table, Charles, Ma said. Yeah, every chapter they have to remind us, Ma hates Indians. But no, it's Laura bad boy. She does not. So, fair enough. She opened the oven door and took out the tin milk pan. It was full of something, covered thickly over with delicately brown biscuit crust. She set it before Pa, and he looked at it amazed. Oh, chicken pie! Sing a song of sixpence, said Ma. Laura went on from there, and so did Carrie and Mary and even Grace. And a pocket full of rye, 24 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was opened, the birds began to sing. Was that not a dainty dish to set before the king? Yes, it's the poem about the black sheep. She made a blackbird pie. Well, I'll be switched, said Pa. He cut into the pie's crust with a big spoon and turned over a big chunk of it onto a plate. The underside was steamed and fluffy. Over it he poured spoonfuls of thin brown gravy, and beside it he laid half a blackbird, browned and so tender that the meat was slipping from the bones. He handed the first plate across the table to Ma. The scent of that open pie was making all their mouths water so that they had to swallow again and again while they waited for their portions. And under the table, the kitty curved against their legs, her hungry purring running into anxious meows. Oh yeah, they opened a blackbird pie, and that adorable little kitten that they got, the mouse killer. Yep, she's looking for blackbirds. The pan held 12 birds, said Ma. Just 2 apiece, but 1 is all that Grace can possibly eat, so that leaves 3 for you, Charles. It takes you to think up a chicken pie a year before there's chickens to make it with, Pa said. He ate a mouthful and said, "Oh, this beats a chicken pie all hollow." They all agreed that blackbird pie was even better than chicken pie. There were, besides new potatoes and peas, sliced cucumbers and young boiled carrots that Ma had thinned from the rows, and creamy cottage cheese. And the day was not even Sunday. As long as the blackbirds lasted and the garden was green, they could eat like this every day. Now, which is good, because remember, they're rather skimpy on the protein. Have you noticed, like, what's for dinner? Bread and potatoes. They don't get a lot of protein, these people. They're eating, sometimes, yay, fresh vegetables, but they're either eating a hunk of venison and, like, sourdough bread, or they're having corn and peas and beans and no meat. It's a very weird diet. And so for them to have vegetables and nice, fatty, meaty blackbirds, this is like the most nutritious thing they've eaten since we started the whole series of books. It's a very decent meal these people have ever had. So, blackbird pie. Laura thought, Ma's right. There is always something to be thankful for. Still, her heart was heavy. The oats and the corn crops were gone. She did not know how Mary could go to college now. And she's got a wardrobe now. The beautiful new dress, the 2 other new dresses, and the pretty underwear must be laid away until next year. It was a cruel disappointment to Mary. And Mary can't eat for like another year because she'll never get in that dress. Pa ate the last spoonful of pink sugary cream from his saucer of tomatoes and drank his tea. Tomatoes for dessert. Dinner was over. He got up and took his hat from its nail, and he said to Ma, "Tomorrow's Saturday. If you'll plan to go to town with me, we can pick out Mary's trunk." Mary gasped. Laura cried up, "Is Mary going to college?" Pa was astonished. He asked, "What's the matter with you, Laura?" "How can she," Laura asked, "if there isn't any corn or any oats?" "Oh, I didn't realize you're old enough to be worrying," said Pa. "I'm going to sell the heifer calf." Mary cried out, "Oh no, not the heifer, not the heifer." In another year, the heifer would be a cow. Then they would have 2 cows. Yeah, that's how that works. Then they would have had milk and butter all year round. Now, if Pa saw the heifer, they would have to wait 2 more years for that little calf to grow up. "Selling her will help out," said Pa. "I ought to get all the $15 for her." "Don't worry about it, girl," said Ma. "We must cut our coat to fit the cloth." Well, it's not like, remember they had no cow? They had no milk. They didn't eat milk for years. They had no dairy. They were like vitamin D deficient. And then there was like a cow. They went berserk if they had like a cup of milk to split between them. And now it's like they almost had 2 cows. So they can totally live with 1 cow. They've lived with no cow. So they could sell a cow. Yeah, there you go. "We must cut our coat to fit the cloth." True, true. "Oh, Pa, it set you back a whole year," Mary mourned. "Never mind, Mary," said Pa. "It's time you were going to college, and now we've made up our minds you're going. A flock of pesky blackbirds can't stop us." "Harumph and harumph," says Pa. Well, I think he's right. They've gone too far. I mean, they've gone too far. They've spent all this money. They've been saving up for the college thing. They just made her enough clothes for 10 people. I think she needs to go. And what's she going to do but go to college? So they're getting ready to go. But it's true. They did save up a lot. This was going to put them over the top with the money. But, but they've got a cow. And they've got a baby cow that's going to grow up to be a cow. And they're already saying they're going to have to move into town anyway for the winter so they don't die. but they survived on twisting hay and eating like scraps of brown bread and boiled potato skins. I mean, they've done that before. They got a heck of a lot more food than that. And they have milk. And like I said, they went literally years without milk. So I'm thinking the selling the cow so that she can go to college is totally a thing. And you'll be relieved to know that indeed the next chapter is Mary goes to college. But I'm going to read it tomorrow because it was long. It was like a really long chapter with like days talking about corsets. I am not a corset person. No. I am. I wear a brassiere, which I like my strap jacket. I adjust these straps. I wear a bra and I wear like an underwire even bra. I know TMI. Why am I? Because older lady, big girl. So yeah, I do. I'm a fan of bras. I like because if I like sports bras too. I like the sports bras, the gym kind, this comfortable kind. But I have to because I'm the kind of person, if I went jogging, like Dolly Parton said, if I went jogging without a bra, I'd black both my eyes. So yeah, I'm a bra person, but I don't sleep in them. No, that would be strange. But I know people who do. I know. But my mother, Casper the Friendly Ghost. She did the voice of Casper. She grew up in Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia. Yes. Who's from Vancouver? There was somebody British Columbia person. Do we have any Vancouver folk? British Columbia on the screen there? I'm sure you are. Yeah. So if you live in Vancouver, Shaughnessy Heights. Just saying. Up lady, she said, "Oh no, I don't wear a bra." She was a big exercise and fresh air. She was one of those people, and she hardly ever wore a bra. I mean, she had formal occasions, getting very dressed up, an audition perhaps, a party, and then wearing a gown. But yes, she was very modern. When women in the 60s and 70s began to talk about we don't really need to wear bras all the time, my mother went, "You've been wearing bras?" Really? She was that kind of gal. Go figure. But yes, I know people, they will not, that bra never comes off. It never comes off. I'm fascinated by this. I really am. But you will not catch me sleeping in a bra. No, because I'm like, ow. But there, Ma Ingalls says she slept in a corset. Nope. I am so glad that I don't live in the 1800s. I am. I'm so glad. It was pretty. I mean, they had pretty things. The 1800s were cool because, yes, you could go out on the prairie where there were no people and it wasn't crowded. There were lots of places in the 1800s that didn't have smog or pollution yet. But not completely, because we still had the Industrial Revolution already, and there were cities, and like they're always throwing their dishwater out the back and their garbage out the back. So there were places that were actually dirtier in the 1800s, where the air was worse and the pollution and the sewage in the street and what was worse than now. There's places that are cleaner now than they were in the 1800s. So, but if you're out on the prairie, it was very clean. And animals, you had more animals. If you were out in the wild, you would have like just deer and birds. So that was cool. That part was cool. They made interesting food in the 1800s, but you can make it. I got a cast iron skillet. I can make all that interesting food. They wore fun stuff. But generally, there was, heat. If you didn't have enough coal or twist enough hay, freezing. I got central heat. Air conditioning. Air conditioning. I love air conditioning. Air conditioning is wonderful. They didn't have goldfish. They didn't have goldfish. No goldfish. Nope. They didn't have Diet Canada Dry Ginger Ale. Nope. No internet. No air conditioning. No goldfish. So I admit I belong in this century. I am all about this century. I think we're better off in this century. I'm way better off in this century. My mom was born in 1921, and my father was born in 1928. Yikes. So yeah, they were there for the oldie days, the Depression and everything. So I kind of like where we're at now. I do. I think progress. And you know what? Here we are now. 2020. If you want to wear a corset, you still can. And you can go make biscuits in a cast iron skillet. And then you can go watch TV. Yay. So, yay, 2020. I'll go with the 21st century myself. I admit it. I like it here. I still got my bonnet, so yes, everything's fab. Still hanging in there. Like I said, this Sunday, 21st, Living on a Prairie, grand finale. Whole bunch of the cast. Karen Grassley, Dean Butler, me, like Hersha, Mrs. Garvey, baby Grace. Yes, they're all going to get interviewed on Facebook with the thing, with the Living on a Prairie. It's great. Benefit for the Actors Fund. So that's Sunday, 21st, here on Facebook. 25th, June 25th. So Thursday. It'll be 8 in the evening in New York, but 5 in the afternoon here. I'm going to do my little show again over there in the living room. So that's fun. That's on stageit.com. Things. Yeah, the store. I think you bought everything. I don't know. I was looking at the sales. You may have bought everything. You may have just bought everything. Stuff's coming in the mail, though. I will eventually have more. But you guys, you bought everything. So it's going to take me a couple days to get that in the mail. But I'll do my best. It's like stuffing bonnets and envelopes all night. So awesome. So there you go. You know where to find stuff. You know where to find me. And today's the show. Yeah, 5 o'clock today. You remember Bob Denver, who's Gilligan on Gilligan's Island? Well, his wife, Dreama Denver, lovely person, and she's written a book, Four Bears in a Box, a children's book, and she does all sorts of amazing, fantastic things. Fantastic woman, does all sorts of clever things, and she's going to be on my show. I'm getting to interview her this afternoon, so that will be fun. The Alison Arngrim Show. And ta-da! There you are. Things. There's more things that I'm doing, and I will keep you posted. So, wash your hands, wear your little masks, be good, be nice to each other, and I'll see you tomorrow.